Welcome to the Thundercast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The Thundercast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the Thundercast. You can follow us on Twitter at Thundercast_pod. It's game preview time, man. The Herd is in first place in the Sunbelt East Division, going down to Norfolk, Virginia. Got to face those pesky Monarchs of Old Dominion this week in a definite must-win game for the Herd. We want to maintain our control, and we're going to cover all of it. But, you know, we can't do that, Russ, without a word from our sponsors at Lazier Oliver, PLLC.
If you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Lazier Oliver, PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com.
Old Dominion, old Conference USA foe, came with us to the Sun Belt. I like Old Dominion. I don't have anything against Old Dominion. You know what I'm saying? I think they're cool, man. I like them. That being said, I also want to beat the tar out of them this weekend. No offense to those guys, but, man, we got something going and we got business to take care of.
I have it on a good authority that they would like to come out as victors in this matchup against us as well.
You don't say.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this ComAssist KY Marshall football preview, ComAssist.com. We coach, you grow. The game going down 11-23 at 7:30 p.m. on ESPNU. Going to be a chilly one, most likely, in Norfolk. Old Dominion sitting on the season this year, 4-6 right now, 3-3 in conference, currently riding a 2-game losing streak, back-to-back weeks at Appalachian State and James Madison. So, you know, the Monarchs are itching. This is a must-win for them. Must win. They're trying to get the bowl eligibility, right? And truth be told, they'd probably like to get one more in the win column against the Herd, because the Herd has been unkind to ODU in this all-time series. This will only be the 10th all-time meeting, but in those previous 9 games, Marshall is 8-1. The only time that Marshall has lost to Old Dominion was in Norfolk, but it was also in 2016, the year that Marshall went 3-9 and 2-6 in conference. It was an abysmal year that many folks look at as the rock bottom in recent history. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what that really says. You know, Old Dominion has had good teams. They've had good players. They've had all-time great players, as a matter of fact. But the Herd has just always had their number, or most often had their number. In this one, though, kind of wild. Basically a coin flip. The power index gives the Herd a 49.7% chance to win. Like, what the heck is the difference? The Ballard Stadium has got to be more than a 0.3% chance to win, like, tick, you would think. So this is as coin flip gets for a road team. The Herd is, what is it, plus 1.5? Is that what it is? ODU's favored in this one, right?
Yeah, depending on where you look, it's anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 favorites.
Wow. Okay. Over and under what I saw, 51.5. So coin flip this one game all the way around, I guess. We'll see. I hear you're making the trip to Norfolk, so that'll be cool. You've been there before, right? Or have you not?
First time.
Okay. First time. So you're checking all the schools off of the Sun Belt. Is this the last one in the East Division that you've got to make?
No, I've got to go to both of the Georgia schools.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm assuming you're meeting up with the Monarchists.
I will be tailgating with the Monarchists and also Justice from the G5I.
Oh, okay, cool. So you're going to get the I don't want to say the red carpet treatment. You're going to get the blue carpet treatment.
Treatment. We actually talked about that. I was on their show to do a little Q&A. It's already been posted, and we talked about the Sun Belt and how the hospitality of the fans and everything, and the respect amongst the programs. And they have already basically said, hey, you know, you're coming over here, you're tailgating with us, and don't bring anything. Bring something if you want to, but we got you covered. And just like us, they're very close to the stadium, and they have a massive tailgate over there. It's going to be a fun time. I've been through Norfolk, but I've never stopped in Norfolk.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be fun.
Ought to be fun. Ought to be a good time. Dress warm and get prepared. So let's get 3 big questions fired at you. All right.
Okay.
Number 1, will Marshall get its run groove back on the road this week against Old Dominion?
If you define run groove back as doing better than 31 carries and 67 yards, yes. I don't think that we're going to have a 200-yard rushing day, and I don't even know if we'll have 150, but I do see us having success on the ground comparative to what we did last week, just not over 250 like we did the previous week down at Southern Miss.
Yeah, what I mean by getting their groove back is what led Marshall to be a top 11 rushing offense. That average Marshall performance that you came to expect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just alluded to that. You do not expect Marshall to have a 200-yard day, a 150-yard day, as a matter of fact. But, the Herd is averaging 200 yards a game.
That's right.
As a team. But, of course, through the meat of the middle of that schedule, that was led largely by the production of A.J. Turner. We just do not know if he'll be back right now. I saw that Luke mentioned during the game, during 75 week, that he spotted AJ. At first, he didn't think he was there, and then he spotted him in a boot. So, food for thought. We don't know what's going on or if he'll be making a return. Sure hope he does. Number 2, does Mike Green set the single-season sack record for the Herd in this one?
Set or tie?
Call it what you want. Tie, set. You can say no, but he'll tie it.
Wait, where would he place if he was tied? First or second?
If you're in second place and you pass the guy in second place, what place are you?
No, so I actually don't. I think he'll get like a sack and a half or something. I think that, the word has been out on Mike since the preseason, and you still can't stop him. But I do think that the one thing going in our advantage, which we'll talk about a little bit more later, is the Monarchs have given up 5 sacks each of the last 2 weeks.
Right.
But I think that our success will come because they are putting so many people on Mike that it'll come from elsewhere that we get our sack totals. I see him getting like 1.5, which is still damned good, but he will fall just shy going into the final week to break the record.
It's crazy when a down game is a sack and a half for you.
Yeah.
And number 3, will the special teams have to win this game, however you see it shaking out, much like they had to do in 2022? Mind you, that was the 12-0, 4 field goals. We couldn't do really anything to get into the end zone game. We had a stifling defense in that game, and we could do enough to get into field goal range. I'm not saying that mirror image of a game. I'm saying, is this one so tooth and nail that it's the special teams wins out?
I don't see it being that way, actually. I don't see any reason to think that we would have a bad special teams game, but I just don't see it being that kind of a game to where it's special teams or bust. Or defense and special teams or bust. I actually see our offense putting up quite a good showing in this game. So no to that answer.
All right. Well, to that end, let's talk about the guys from Norfolk that are going to be trying to thwart the Herd victory train, keeping a rolling for a 5th straight game. And it starts with quarterback Colton Joseph, the 6'2", 200-pound freshman. 114 out of 191 on the year, 1,396 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's been sacked 17 times, and you mentioned it, 10 in the last 2 friggin' weeks. Wow. 89 carries on the year for young Colton Joseph for 489 yards to the good, despite being sacked 17 times, and 9 touchdowns on the ground. Hello. 5.5 yards per carry. So true dual threat quarterback. You got to really respect what the kid can do. You cannot just look at that sack total and go, we got this one. It's covered. We're all good. Then you go to running back Aaron Young, the 5'10", 200-pound senior, 131 carries, 657 yards, 4 touchdowns on the ground, and 5 yards per carry. We're going to feature a duo wide receivers. Isaiah Page, the 5'8", 161-pound senior, leads the team in receptions and yards, 53 receptions, 699 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, 13.3 yards per reception. And wide receiver Deontay Vines, 6 foot 198. He's also a senior. 34 receptions, 371 yards, 2 touchdowns, good for 10.9 yards per reception. I know you like to do stats and stuff. So I told you last week, I just write down the 4 big ones. So I'm going to read those off just for folks and how they relate to what the herd does. So points per game, Old Dominion averaging 26.1. That's good for 87th in the nation. Total offense, 376.6 yards, good for 80th in the nation. Pass offense, 194 yards per game, good for 100th in the nation. And rush offense, 182.5 yards a game, good for 41st in the nation. How does that compare to what the herd does on defense? Well, herd is allowing 22.9 points per game. That's 55th in the country. 77th in total defense with 376 yards. Did that sound familiar? Yeah, it should have, because the Monarchs gained 376 yards a game. And then pass defense, Marshall's 48th in the country, just allowing 202 yards, and 101st against the run, allowing 174 yards. This one, for the first time to me, might be the worrisome stat given what we just saw last week. Do you want to give me a quick note or two on this Monarchs offense that is cause for pause for you, maybe?
Yeah, cause for pause is when they get into the red zone. They are tied for 8th in the nation, 30 out of 32 times.
Wow.
When they've been in the red zone. That's 93.8%. Of those scores, they've got 15 rush touchdowns, 7 passing touchdowns, 8 field goals, 30 out of 32. When you take those points and add them together, points in the red zone, every time they make it to the 20-yard line, it's good. I mean, I'm talking every drive that they get there is good for 4.9 points. So it's pretty damned high, and that means we need to keep them out of the red zone.
Yeah.
Their rushing attack, let's see here, rushing offense is 41st in the nation, 182.5. It's really good. But again, our rushing defense has not been good. We're still allowing less than what they do even there. So it's one of those things, man. The big thing is when they make the red zone, they score. But on third down conversions, they are 100th in the country, only converting 43.2% of the time. No one's saying it's going to play out like this, but if we can prevent them from getting in there with field position battle and preventing them from picking up first downs like they've had trouble with a little bit on the season, we could keep their score low, and that's kind of where I'm seeing against their offense.
Well, it's exactly what it says. It says these guys aren't that great at sustaining long drives. You know, it's like they're averaging 376 yards a game. We just gave up 391 yards to Coastal, and that was really not that impactful of a 391 yards. Yeah, they had a lot of costly drops, and we made some great plays at great times to keep points from being on the board for Coastal Carolina. But I'm saying, if Old Dominion's not averaging what Coastal just put up against us, and that only got them 19 points, I mean, you're not going to block a field goal all the time, and you're not going to have guys drop potentially a couple of touchdown passes every single week. But still, you know, if you keep these guys driving long, you improve your chances greatly. That stat about the red zone offense that's pretty impressive. Being top 10 in anything is pretty impressive, but especially a scoring category.
Yeah. And again, you know, just the last few weeks, I've been trying to take the total number of points that people have scored in the red zone versus how many trips they've been there. And so far, this is the highest that we've seen in a little slice, you know, but 4.9 points, you know, 5 points every time that they get to the 20-yard line is pretty good. Pretty daggone good.
That's pretty good. Let's move into defense real quick, and I'll tell you right now, I made a gaffe when I was making my notes down. I started jotting down statistics, and I forgot to go back and get some measurables for some of these guys. So you're just gonna have to deal with it. I don't think it'll make or break your preview. But it leads the way with safety. Jerron Manning, 5'10", 185. He's a junior, leads the team in total tackles, 81 on the year. 31 of those solo, half a sack, 2 passes defended, and 3 INTs on the year. Then you got a trio of linebackers. And I'll tell you what, this was the biggest stat to me, is that the next 3 top defenders were linebackers, and none of them were named Jason Henderson because he's injured. So they're getting great play from their linebackers again in Norfolk. But it starts at this linebacker trio with Koa, Tala. That's hard.
That's really close.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it either. I just know that that's probably close.
Now Tala. I did not get his measurables, but he's got 71 total tackles on the year, 19 solo, 2.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. Then Mario Thompson, 61 total tackles, 28 solo. He's got 4 sacks on the year, a pass defended and a fumble recovery. And then Jaleel Colbreth, 50 tackles, 21 solo, half a sack, and that's it. Impact plays on the year, 19 total sacks for this ODU defense, 23 passes defended, 11 INTs, 9 forced fumbles, and 4 fumble recoveries. Nothing leaps off the page, right? But it's still pretty good. I think the 11 interceptions is pretty solid, and 9 forced fumbles is like, dang, that's pretty good. I don't know what we have, by the way. We could have more than that or the same. I don't know, but
I've got them.
The sacks don't really surprise me, but like when I start to see double-digit INTs, I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So how about some ratings for these guys? They're 78th in points allowed, giving up 26.2 points per game. 102 in total defense, allowing 404.6 yards per game, 95th in pass defense, and 95th in rush defense, 238 pass yards allowed, and 166.3 rush yards allowed. And how does the Herd offense stack up? Well, the Herd offense is 45th in scoring, 30.6 points per game. We're number 72 in total offense, 383.6 yards per game, 117th in passing offense at 183. But the last 2 weeks, we have been well above that average. And then still top 20 in rushing offense at 200.5 yards per game, though off the heels of an abysmal 67-yard team rushing performance. Woof. Real quick before I let you give me notes, the place kicker, Ethan Sanchez, 5'9", 192-pound junior, 11 of 12 out of field goals with a long of 53 and 28 out of 31 on extra points. Yeah. So how about some notes on this ODU defense and something special teams if you got it?
Well, about the kicker, the only field goal he's missed was over 50, and then he's missed 3 extra points. I don't know if those were blocks or he just shanked them, but it was just a little weird. He's automatic from anywhere below, I think, 52, 53, 51, something like that. But then he missed some extra points. And real quick, we have 9 forced fumbles, and we have 5 fumble recoveries to their 4. So same as that. They have 23 pass deflections. We have 44 pass deflections. They have 11 interceptions. We have 10 interceptions. So very close, except we have a lot more pass deflections. And, of course, we've got a lot more sacks because they, I think, had 19, and Mike Green by himself has 15.
Yeah.
I'm really looking here at, Manning, as you said. I mean, he's their number 1 tackler, up there second by only 1 in solo tackles as well. So it's not just that he's in on a bunch of assists, but 3 interceptions and 2 pass deflections. He looks like a do-everything safety. And then, Chris Trinidad, a defensive end, has 3 pass deflections, is almost leading the team from defensive end. So that's got me kind of worried about throws near the line of scrimmage to see a batted ball to get an interception or something. I'm really hoping we don't see something like that. But their defense is not as good as their offense. They're giving up right at the same points that they score, 26.1 to 26.2. But their defense metrics and rankings is just falling behind a little bit, and I really hope our offense can exploit that to bring this game home.
Yeah, I'm with you too. It's those fluky plays that you've got to really steer away from that we saw early against ULM that really got me like, oh man, is it going to be one of these days? And you can't just look past the fact that this one's on the road. And look, man, Huff has struggled on the road. We know that. Picked up a win a couple of weeks ago, and that was great. But you struggle on the road. And until that becomes a consistent area that you can go win. I mean, it's hard to win on the road. Everybody knows that. But until you can consistently go do that, that's always going to be the talking point when you're playing a road game, is that Marshall's not as good on the road as they are at home. And you're undefeated at home. You can't be undefeated at home and beatable on the road. But to that, I say, hey, we traveled to Harrisonburg and Norfolk in 2022 and won at both places, right?
That's right.
Won in both places.
Yep.
And this team is, like you mentioned in the recap of 75 week, probably is the most adaptable Herd team, at least in the Huff era, and maybe in a long while. They find ways to win, and they found multiple ways to win over the last month of the season. And they need to end hot. And if they end hot again, I mean, wow, you can't even call it a turnaround, because we really weren't down. It was like a bad loss to Georgia State. Like, we were doing pretty good anyway, and it was a bad loss that just kind of put a sour taste in everybody's mouth. So you steer away from the fluky plays, you take care of the football, I think you're going to be okay. It should be a lot of the same against Coastal, Old Dominion you can't go to sleep on, because, they just lost to JMU, and probably the casual fan is going to go, well, that's expected. But it was a 2-point loss in a tough game, in a very tough game. So it's not like they got blown out by JMU. They were in that one, man. I mean, they were in that one. They could have won that game, and it just didn't work out for them.
I've got to correct myself here when I'm looking at this, because I wanted to make a point about their third down D. It's their third down D that they were ranked 100th in the nation. Third down offense, they are almost exactly where we are. They're actually tied for 69th, and we're 71st. So they have 40.4% conversion, and we have 40.3. So it is their giving up 43.2% of the time, 100th out of 133. So their third down D, they're giving a lot of first downs.
Good.
So it's not as bad as what I was trying to say earlier on their third down, talking about their offense. So a little self-correction here as we're talking about the defense. That is still a point here that they have given up a lot of first downs, third down conversions, and everything.
And Marshall has shown the ability to sustain drives. We don't have to go 3-4 plays and a touchdown. We can have that 8, 9, 10, 12 play drive and score.
We've been very good at doing both this year. Scoring quick and also having those long drives. 92-yard, 75-yard has not been a problem for us.
That's right. And it drives home, or that becomes a lot easier if you see the return of A.J. Turner. If you see the offensive line have a more disciplined game than what we saw against Coastal Carolina. If those false starts disappear, those things happen. The fluky offensive pass interference against Toby Payne last week, that was like, what? So the Herd played a pretty clean, or they didn't play a pretty clean game, but they had the ability to play clean games, is what I'm saying. Anyway, let's talk about some keys to victory. What's your number one key to victory for the Herd in this one?
I've got that you've got to contain Colton Joseph. He's accounted for 19 touchdowns in the 6 starts since he took over. Sometimes he just does not have it through the air, and he's not moving the ball a lot, and he's getting sacked 5 times, and he doesn't have a single passing touchdown like last week, and he has 3 on the ground. He's dangerous on both levels as a freshman, mind you. So we really need to contain him. If we contain him, their offense is much worse if he has a bad game.
Yeah, that's my number 2 key to victory is, he's dangerous guy. He's a dual threat guy, and he's found the end zone a lot. But he's also, this offensive line has shown that they'll let you get to him, and Once again, we said this before. I said this before. A team that had given up a bunch of sacks the week before, and lo and behold, here comes Mike Green and company coming to town with this vaunted herd pass rush. What are you going to do? Now the real test is here. The single best defensive end in the conference, one of the best in the country, is going to be in front of you. And you think that he's going to have a quieter game because of the extra attention he's going to get. Well, now you're going to leave Jabari Ishmael there. Now you're going to leave Taquez Legs there to get to you, or Chris Thomas to get to you. So I understand what you're saying. I'm saying, how do they respond to that challenge of these guys coming to town?
Just to clarify, though, I'm not saying he has a quieter game, because 1.5 sacks is his average.
Right.
It's his average, 15 in 10 games. It's right at average. He just has to have 2 or more to break the record, was what I was saying. I didn't really see him getting that game.
Yeah. So, but that's my number 2 key to victory. You get after Colton Joseph.
Yeah.
You get 5 sacks on the day with all the other things that Marshall does anyway, with
pass deflections.
The gaudy pass defended numbers that we put up. And it's going to be rough for this ODU offense. I get it. But if they are able to keep Colton Joseph clean, keep that jersey clean, who knows what could happen, because the kid's dangerous. He's showing that. What's your number 2 key to victory?
Stopping the run. As a team, they're getting 4.8 yards per carry. That's pretty damn good, but their top 4 runners are all 5+, and that includes Colton Joseph. So we really, really need to – we've struggled all year. We've had Ahmad Hardy from ULM put up over 2 bills against us. We really, really need to stop the run in this one and force them to try to beat us with the pass. Yeah. And that's when we could maybe get to Colton Joseph if they're having to drop back more.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But to my point of forcing them into passing situations, my number 1 key to victory for Marshall was you got to start fast. We got to get down there and play from ahead. Marshall's done a good job of going down, scoring on their opening possession, getting points on the board immediately. It's been a theme of this team for a while now. And if you play from ahead, it does all the things that Coastal tried to do to us. Takes the team out, or takes the crowd out of the game, just kind of eliminates that home field advantage that you get from a crowd, and it forces your opponent obviously to be playing from behind. And if you're able to do that, get a stop, go down, put more points up, get a stop. Okay, now you might be in their head a little bit. They're thinking we got to do something different. Well, if the answer to that is we need to pass more, please do, because I want our guys to get a chance and to live in your backfield, because there ain't been a team yet stop the herd from living in their backfield. What's your number 3 key to victory?
We cannot be one-dimensional on offense. We need to establish that run to open up the pass, but we also need to be able to stretch the field with passing to open up the run. Mm-hmm. I know that is, hey, duh, but a lot of keys to victory are always going to be that way. It's just basic football is how you win games. But if we are one-dimensional like we were last week, with having to pass because we're just not getting it done on the ground, I got a feeling that would be a bad recipe for a game against these linebackers. I really need to see us run the ball to allow us to pass efficiently and vice versa.
Well, complementary football is going to be paramount. You can't always rely on your special teams to block a freaking field goal that goes the other way. You can't always rely on your stud defensive end to get a 4th down quarterback sack. You can't always rely on opposing wide receivers to drop open touchdown passes in the freaking end zone. You can't always rely on that. So offensively, you're going to have to do something. 60 yards ain't going to cut it. I mean, you're averaging 200 yards as a team. You have to be able to put up enough yardage, effective yardage to at least move the chains. I'm not saying you gotta have 150 yards, but they have to respect your freaking run.
Yeah, if you have 25 rushes and 105 yards, that is a very, very respectable day compared to what we just saw with right around 2 yards per carry. So, I mean, that is plenty enough to allow you to pass the ball.
Yeah. Yes. Effective one way, effective running, getting you big gash plays and putting points on the board with long runs and not things we've seen. Whole other ball game when you're just using that to move chains, to set up 2nd and short, 3rd and short. I'll take either one. I'll take either one. Just don't give me 35 carries for 35 yards. That I can't rely on the other things because you're a turnover away from this one not being coming out on your side. We got lucky. Braxton did not turn the ball over. We as a team did not turn the ball over. We went out and got 3 turnovers, and you got special team scores, and you had 2 45+ yard kick returns. It's like you can't always have that, man. My number 3 key to victory for the Herd is protect the freaking football. I just talked about it, but leading into this point, Braxton's done a pretty good job. 1 turnover in the past 2 games. He's been passing efficiently. This is good. He's in a groove right now. We have seen still things like wide receivers not dropping, but like fumbling the football and then falling on it. That type of thing. You just got to protect the football. You're in crunch time right now. So any little thing, any turnover could be the difference in a ball game. And you need every play to go your way to secure the wins you need to go to a conference championship game. Fundamentals, man. Take care of the foot. I can't knock you if it's a fluky play or whatever. The defender makes a great play. I get it. But if you just are out here with the football, and it gets punched out, that's on you. Protect the football. What's your number 4 key to victory?
Don't leave points on the board. No 3s for 7s, no 0s for 3s. And in this game, I think we're going to need them all. The way I see the game going. So we really need to convert those ones and not leave points on the board.
My number 4 key to victory is it's a race to 31. I think it's a race to 31. The team that gets to 31 points, not necessarily the team that gets 31 first, but the team that does get to 31, I think is going to win this game. I think 31 points is enough to win this game. I just don't know how it's all going to play. I don't know how we get those 31 this week based on what we saw offensively last week. It's nice when those pass plays work, but if that run game ain't working, if you're not being as impactful on defense, so that's my 4th key to victory. Get me 31 points, and I think that's enough to win this game. It's a race to 31. Any notes before we move on?
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know I said this during the recap, but J.J. Roberts is now tied for 10th in the nation in pass deflections, passes defended. Mike Green, of course, still leads the nation in sacks, sack yardage, tackles for loss yardage, and total tackles by defensive linemen. So we have some standout guys here. And Turner being down, he's still leading 9.2 yards per carry, even though we don't know and are assuming he won't be playing in this game. But we have some guys that are doing some all-time things here. And I want everybody to appreciate what they're seeing here, because these are some things that we may be talking about in the future of Mike Green being one of the best in a limited amount of time of defensive ends that we've ever had here. And we've had a bunch. J.J. Roberts may go down as one of the best safeties we've ever had here by their stats and by how the plays that they're making on the field at the times they make them. Some people compile stats. You could be a wide receiver and, get 90 catches a game on a team that goes 2-10 and doesn't really do anything. And, you're a stats compiler. These guys make big plays at the times that they need them. Mm-hmm. And I see us needing to rely on them again this game, just like we have all season long. So I just want to say that before we get into our MVPs and our point score prediction.
Well, that's an excellent segue into it. So who's your MVP this week, or MVPs?
I actually see, even though I said all that, I see Braylon Braxton having a big game as quarterback. I see him doing it on the ground, and I see him doing it through the air, and just building on those past 2 weeks of great routes and play calling by Daggy and this offense. The routes. It just seems like there's someone open for these big plays, and I see him putting up several touchdowns, going up against Colton Joseph, who put up 19 touchdowns in his 6 full games that he started. I see Braxton putting up something like that outdoes Mr. Joseph.
Yeah, I'm going Braylon Braxton on offense too. I'm riding the hot hand. I think he's kind of settled in to take command of this Herd offense. It's his now. And the passing has improved over the past couple of weeks. 3 weeks ago, it was okay. 2 weeks ago, it was, wow, okay. And last week, it was like, all right, we got something going here, And I can't give my offensive MVP to any one wide receiver,
right,
because any one wide receiver can be the guy that goes off that week. It can always be Fitz. It can now, it could be Chuck Montgomery, and Carl Chester came on hot last week, and they're trying to work in Doc Chapman more and more, and you just never know who it's going to be. It could be anybody, but the guy that touches the damn football every single time is the quarterback. So he has the ability to literally make your team go or stop your team cold if he's, not taking care of the football. There are little nitpicky things that I would love to see Braxton improve on, just like the clock in his head getting quicker. It's like, all right, nobody's there, I got to go, and avoid that extra sack, maybe one less per game or something like that. Or, you know what, I really shouldn't be throwing across my body into triple coverage. Let me just eat that one, and, we'll live to fight another day. You're not always going to get lucky. Doesn't matter. He's still the MVP for me. Who's your defensive guy this week?
I see it being Green again. Even though I said he's not going to break the record, I still see him getting back there a little bit, and more than anything, opening up these other people.
Yeah.
If you've got to focus two different linemen on him, that's a really good chance for D.V. Harris or Jabari Ishmael, Chris Thomas, Tyquez Legs, you name it, from the defensive line, getting back there and wreaking havoc on an offensive line that is 122nd in the country out of 133 as far as giving up sacks. Now, they've shot way down on that board the last 2 weeks, but still, they've given up 31 and we've gotten 33. It seems like we're going to be getting 3 sacks on average against them.
Yeah, and we're catching them at the right time, I think, when they're trending in the wrong direction. Because here we come, with a vaunted pass rush and guys that just like to get there, man. That's what they live for. You can tell that. And when they're on the football field, all they want to do is inflict pain on a quarterback, right? I don't know who it's going to be, because I've got one of these weird scenarios playing out in my head where it's like, all right, is the defensive MVP going to be Mike Green, but his stat line isn't really going to say that, but it's because he's opened up things for everybody else that he's really the MVP? Or is it going to be somebody like JJ, like you're talking about, who's going to end up with half a dozen passes defended and double-digit tackles and maybe even gets an interception or something? Or is it going to be Jaden Yates, who 15 tackle day or something like? I mean,
he's been doing it all year long, man.
You just don't know, man. So I don't know. If you got to hold my feet to the fire, I'm going to say JJ, because he was hot last week. And he got recognized on the special team side of things. And here comes this young gunslinging type quarterback who also likes to run the football. And there's JJ back there, who's your safety valve, who's the guy that is, has to protect the end zone. I think he's in for a big day, dude. You might see a dozen tackles and some impact plays on top of that. So I love the Mike Green pick. That's always a great pick. I mean, he could be injured, and that would be a great pick. But I'm going to edge JJ again this week. How about a score prediction?
I got 34-27. I see it being a back-and-forth offensive game where they put up points, we put up points, but we're one better. Ends up 34-27. Couple big plays that you can go back to and say that right there, that's what won the game.
We are very, very similar this week. I got a 34-30 Herd, because I think it's going to be a gut check game for ODU. They're fighting for bowl eligibility. They're going to give you everything that they've got to the very end, unless something weird happens and they've just got a buttload of turnovers and they're just out of it. You know what I mean? I think if this is a standard operating game, you're going to see one of those, like, two punchers just going at it and seeing who comes out when the dust settles. And I think the Herd has enough punching power to get that knockout shot in. Wherever it may fall in the game, you'll know it when you see it. But I think it's going to be 34-30 Herd, and we still control our own destiny. You got any final notes on this one before we get out of here?
Nope, just looking forward to being there.
Well, I would like you to make sure you tell those Monarchists that I picked a closer game than you did. But my only note on this game is for everybody that doesn't know, if you're not paying attention, if Marshall, Appalachian State, and Coastal Carolina all win this weekend, Marshall wins the East, because at that point there will not be enough games left. Even if Marshall goes to Harrisonburg, win or lose, Marshall will win the East. There just won't be enough games left for anybody to overtake the herd. So with that, if you got nothing else, take us out of here.
Yeah, whether you see us at the Jack, whether you see us at the Cam, or whether you see us at Afterglow Brewing and the Blue Lot down in Norfolk, no matter where you see me, I'm going to be saying go herd, and my man KD is always going to be saying go herd as well.
That's true. I will always be saying go herd. It's the Thundercast. We'll see you next week. Hoping for a big herd dub.